G'day everybody, welcome to the Fandom in Rooview. Happy Fursuit Friday everyone. Hey, how's it going out there? Oh man, I guess this is a little bit of a pilot episode, a little bit of an experiment if you will. Been doing this little coverage of the furry fandom for a little bit now, and I figured, what the hell, why not make a little video that lasts about 15 minutes talking about a little thing I want to discuss for the week. This particular topic, obviously Fursonas came out this week, and very interesting flick, very interesting thing, go watch it. I wrote an article which will be in the description below on the review. My name is T.S. McNally, I work for Flera and stuff like that, but that's introductions aside. So here's the thing. The interesting thing about Fursonas is that I kind of expected the whole Kage thing to sort of blow up and stuff like that, but the interesting thing about it is that as far as what is controversial about this film, it seems to be that the biggest thing that blew up was not the Kage thing, but instead the fact that during his interviews video, was Dominique, he's the producer of the film, it turns out that his little statements about why he chose people who have fursuits over people who don't have fursuits seem to have stemmed the most controversy of all, and it seems to be the thing blowing up in the comment section. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, about the whole suitors versus non-suitors thing that's been kind of going on. So the first time I ever ran into this kind of issue was back in 2009. I lived in Jersey at the time, in Jersey. I was a Jersey Joey. And like, it was a little stint down there. I was only there for about a year. And then I came back up here to New York. Not New York City. Not the city, y'all. Not the city. The other part. You know, the maps that no one else plays in League of Legends. That, if you get that meme. Here's the thing. When I went down there, I was with another furry. I roomed with another furry for about a month. And at the time, I saw a little clip on the media, which was the Rachel Maddow show. And they were covering Rocky Mountain Fur Con. And, you know, I watched it, and it was like one of the first mainstream MSNBC, Fox News kind of shows that, you know, was all of a sudden like, hey, this seems to be not so bad. And they're not talking about the, ooh, they're so pervy, you know, angle of things. And, you know, so I showed the person I was rooming with. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I think you'd like to see this. And he watched it with me, and his reaction kind of took me aback. Now, let me give you a little asterisk here. I did not have this suit. I did not have this suit until about 2012, 2013. I was a furry for about 10 years before I even got a suit. And that's a little aside, I kind of do recommend as a suitor getting a solid character before investing into something like this. Because, quite frankly, it's like if you jump in the fandom, it's like, oh man, I want to be a rabbit. And then you make a rabbit, you know, thing. And then you know, it's like, oh no, I'm a fox now. And it's like, you just invested in the suit, man. And now you're going to go over and do this other character thing. What the hell, man? You know, you got to be, like, to me, I think I did it right, and I think it's like I got a character, I got it solid. I was a wolf, I was a black Roo, I was a plain tan Roo, and then I was the red and orange color you see before you today. And then after I solidified that character and was comfortable with it, got the suit. But that personal story aside, and that little asterisk aside, back to the main point. When we were watching that video, he was like, man, they made it all about the fursuiters. And I was a bit taken aback, because I myself wasn't a fursuiter, and I was like, I felt like, I didn't say it out loud, but I was like, I felt like, so? I mean, they're not talking about us doing it, and I certainly wasn't doing it at the time. I was a 26-year-old. Yeah, no. Yeah, I was celibate at the time. So certainly the whole they have sex thing kind of irked me in that way. Because it was like, I'm not! What is wrong with me, man? I'm supposed to be doing this and having this and all that stuff, and it's like, I don't know. Man, Lies. It's all lies, man. Excuse me, I'm going to have to do this every once in a while because my computer likes to go, ooh, I'm going to go into sleep mode on you. You're talking me to sleep, you stupid ruse. Stop it. All right, so basically this whole thing happened where he was like, oh man, they made it all about the fursuiters. And I was a bit taken aback. It was the first time I heard that argument, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. So later on, I came to find out when he was talking about fursuits and stuff like that, we talked about them, he was like, well, I was getting one. I was going to get a rat one or a fox one, or I can't remember which one. I think it was a fox. And he's like, I got served. I got basically they took the money and they ran. And if you think criminal activity or unseemly activity happens within the fandom, the most common one isn't the one you think. The most common one is fraud. Just plain simple fraud. Whether it be a commissioner defrauding an artist defrauding a commissioner, a suit creator defrauding a customer giving a suitor a short end of a stick if they don't know what they're doing to put their foot down. I don't see that so much with fursuit makers, because fursuit makers are like, if they're doing it, they probably know that there's an investment in it, and they're not going to do it unless you pay some money up front, because you got to get materials and stuff like that. But artwork happens all the time. It happened all the time. I don't think many artists do that anymore, where they go, yeah, I'll draw it and then you pay me. I don't think that happens as much anymore. But that's another topic for another time on how to deal with those kind of situations. So bringing it back to this thing, I learned that, and I was like, okay, that makes sense now. Now that I know that he wanted a fursuit, he wanted to have a fursuit, and he couldn't get one because this thing happened, and it made him resent those that did, those that had fursuits, and those that successfully got to get a fursuit. So, that's one reason why this kind of thing occurs. There's other reasons, as there's always one specific reason. Sometimes furries are like, man, I like watching shows about animals. I like watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I like My Little Pony. I like all that stuff. But I don't want a fursuit. It's hot. I can tell you talking right now in the middle of May, and I also learned kind of why you don't talk in fursuit a lot, because it's like the carbon dioxide just kind of goes, like, even though it's coming out here, it's like, it still makes the head hotter. The more I talk, the hotter it gets, man. So, I'll try to keep this brief before I collapse and die. That would be sad, wouldn't it? That'd make a good flare heading, though, wouldn't it? That'd make a great news story. Kangaroo man in kangaroo suit dies of heat exhaustion while trying to do a video podcast. That's a way to go. Absolutely. These things, they're a pain to travel with, man. I have tried to get with them. I've tried to think of ways to get to MFF with it. I can't really do that. I've been to Anthrocon with it. I've been to Furthermore with it, but that's because it's within driving distance. I can pack it up in my car and go. I'm very hesitant to do the whole, I'm going to use public transportation thing. And Chicago is about 13 hours out from where I am, and I don't feel like driving that. And it's toll roads the whole way. It's like, man, I don't want to deal with any of that. I just want to get on a train, get on a plane, just go and then do that. So I usually want sans fursuit. And some people prefer to do that, and they got good reasons to do that. As a writer, interestingly, I don't know many writers who have their own fursuit. I don't. And it's interesting because I think because writers have such a vivid imagination, it's like they don't need the suit to just do and express themselves. They have their minds, and their minds are very fertile, and they can do that. And I guess that just says how bad I am at writing. I don't know. But it's interesting in that fact is that, a lot of people are like, man, I don't want to be, it's like, I don't want that stereotype. Now, the interesting thing is, like, it's a mostly harmless stereotype. So people like Kage are like, what the hell, man? I don't care. You could say it's about the fursuits all you want, as long as you're not saying I'm banging in those stupid things. You could say, oh man, it's all about the fursuits. And he's kind of said he's kind of propagated that whole thing himself. And interestingly, it came back to bite him because in one of the reviews for Fursonas, it said, the guy goes, this Kage guy, he was never in fursuit during this time on the film, and I guess he never bothered putting it on. And I'm like, oh my god. It was ironically funny, but also, you know, when I mentioned it, people were like, but that just proves our point. He's like, he's taking all these furry, he's like, they're all fursuiters, man, and it makes people assume that they do this all the time. And I gotta say, there are a few scenes in Fursonas that kind of try to debunk it, but it doesn't obviously work fully in some cases. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. Number one, Dominique, not Dominique, it was Diesel the raccoon. Basically, he was like and if you read my review, you'll know this, he's the one who was like completely anonymous, always in suit. He was the only one in the whole film that was always in suit because he talked about how ruining his anonymity kind of harmed his career at one point, or made him uncomfortable at work because his coworkers were being jerks. What ended up happening is he was doing household chores and they never showed his face while he was doing it. And then they pan up to his face and he's in only the fursuit head and everything else is uncovered. And he shakes his head, he goes, this is what people must imagine that we're like. Like, we're always wearing the suit, doing, you know, household chores, cooking this thing on the stove, you know, and that's just not how it is, man. Of course, he said it with a fursuit head on, which kind of ruined the point, but it was kind of the funny thing and tongue-in-cheek thing about it, too. Another thing is that Grix, one of the foxes there, said that, you know, when furry fandom first started, when I first got on the scene, not a lot of people owned fursuits, and, you know, they were kind of a staple thing, and you had to have a lot of money, and it's still the same case. That doesn't change. And I think that's why a lot of people get resentful about the whole, wow, that was pleasant. Yeah, kangaroos are known for that kind of thing. Not as much as cows. Anyways, drawing attention away from that. Whew. Bad. That sucks when you're in a fursuit and you let one rip like that. It's terrible. Anyways. Beep, 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 beep. Alright, back to what we were talking about. Basically, he's like, man, a lot of fursuits didn't own this thing. So, and that's still the case. A lot of people don't have a lot of money. My friend was like, man, I scrapped and I saved for this thing, and I gave the money to that person, and then he ran off. And they're not going to get another one. They've been burned. They don't feel like being conned again. You know what I mean? You're not going to get conned again. It's like, fool me once, fool me twice. You know, and it really sucks. It really does suck, because there are a lot of people out there who really want it. And I think those are the people who take offense the most. Are the people who really, really want it, but they can't because either A, they can't afford it, B, they live in a neighborhood where if you get caught with something like this, there might be sociological consequences that you really don't want to deal with. And I got a sense from at least one of the characters on the film, well, every one of them had a fursuit, but as far as like the whole, we want to stem controversy and stuff like that, because, you know, you want to be on good terms with your neighbors, and you don't want them making false projections on other people. But back to the topic of fursuits, you know, I think the movie wouldn't really work. And in essence, I think the movie portrayed that we're more than just the fursuit really, really well. And the reason I think it did that is because it started with everyone kind of showing their fursuit in the first half, and, you know, just talking about the fandom in general. But later on, when they got into the nitty-gritty about fandom politic and talking about Kage and control and how he wants to control the fandom's image and, you know, people's opinions on that, people were mostly sans fursuit besides the raccoon guy. And because of that, you know, it kind of showed that when you peel back the layers. And so it was sort of like, here's the furries, they have this layer on, and then we're going to peel it back a little bit. And even the last thing with Dominic, he basically went, they talked to him, and his fursuit head was on the ground. It was on the floor, and it didn't show his face, but showed him from the chest down. And so he was talking sans fursuit as well, but of course he wanted to remain anonymous. So in essence, it's like that, I think, is what they were going for. I don't know if video was going for that. If he didn't, then that was great coincidence. But So anyways, Fursonas is out and it's on videos, and you should go and watch it. If you do, it's a good fandom piece. If you're interested in fandom politic, you'll definitely notice. As I said, there's a trigger warning. If you really, really like Kage and you think he could do no wrong and don't want to question anything he does, it might be a hard watch. It might be a hard thing to watch. And I know his friend, the only one who really talked about the whole Kage, oh my god, why the hell are they doing this to Kage, was basically in the flavor comments, and it was his best friend, ranting and doing it in his style so much that even though he was anonymous, I was like, dude, you're not fooling anyone. We know who you are, Mr. Griffin. We know that that's who you are, because you use trigger in an ironic sense, and thank you, by the way, because I used that in my own article. But I think the fandom's come a long way since the beginning, and I think that we are probably going to see an interesting turn of events in the next few years. I think that with Zootopia and now this film, I think this film does humanize it to humans very quite well, and despite the fact that Kage's probably going to get some uncomfortable questions from the press, more so than usual that he's comfortable with answering. I don't think there's any going to be too many negative side effects. But one last word to the media. If anyone in the media is watching this, watching a 1 hour special on furries, on a 1 hour documentary, doesn't make you an expert. Sorry to tell you. You got one perspective of one dude's thing, and there's really, really a lot more to it. I get things wrong. I've been doing this for 10 years. All right? I still learn new things every day. I've been watching fandom politic. I've been doing this for a long time. Not always on Flera. I've been doing some stuff on LiveJournal. I've talked about regular politic. I've talked about fandom politic. I'm not drama adverse because I try to listen to people. These are big ears. All right? So, you too, feel free to leave comments in the section below. And if you have any topics you want me to talk about, go on to Twitter and hashtag Rooview. Rooview this. I'll add the text in the description or some flavor text or something. I'm not an editor. I'm not good at editing, okay? This is going to be on the fly. That's how I can do this, man. It's going to be live. I got to get used to talking live, man. Because if I don't get used to doing it, then, But anyways, I'm going to get the hop out of here. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again on some future Fursuit Friday. Have a good night, y'all. Y'all? From upstate New York. I'm not supposed to say y'all.